Welcome to today's Stay Sharp webinar. Before we begin our presentation, I wanted to give you a Stay Sharp program update. Our next small group foundational program will begin in 2023 on January 31st, which is a Tuesday at 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Our Stay Sharp program offers a unique opportunity for those looking to preserve their cognition or who are just beginning to notice lapses in their memory. This allows them to take a more active role in enhancing their brain health. The groups are facilitated by a professional health coach and are bolstered by peer support in a secure, supportive, and confidential setting. Included in the program are 2 private consultations with a Sharp Again health coach, 6 75-minute coaching calls via Zoom, a comprehensive manual and workbook to help you stay on track, and access to an online assessment to measure core elements of your cognitive function. Each program is limited to 8 participants. We are currently planning additional groups as well as our 2023 Stay Sharp webinars, and we will share all those program dates with you as soon as they are finalized. So thank you for joining us this afternoon for the Better Detox Equals Better Brain. We would like to note that the information in this presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Our information is intended to empower individuals, their families, and healthcare professionals who want to collaborate in the most effective ways on this journey to health and well-being. Please see a licensed and qualified medical professional for your medical needs. I'd like to welcome and introduce our speaker, Dr. Penelope McDonnell. Dr. McDonnell graduated from the University of Pennsylvania and the Columbia School of Business and worked on Wall Street for many years. After taking time off to start a family, she decided to switch careers to become a naturopathic doctor. She attended the University of Bridgeport School of Naturopathic Medicine in Connecticut, a leading accredited university that offers a 4-year program in science-based natural medicine. Dr. McDonnell focuses on prevention as the primary strategy for maintaining health. Her treatment plans generally include a combination of natural medicines and specific lifestyle changes designed to bring balance to every system of the body. If you have questions, please type them in the chat box and we will answer them during the Q&A at the end of the presentation. Welcome, Dr. McDonnell. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Joan. You've been such an invaluable resource during this process. And also thank you to Lisa Feiner, who was sort of the pivotal starting point to my involvement with Sharp Again. Naturally, I just think what you're doing is so terrific because it really is the culmination of prevention. So today I am here to talk about detox and the brain. And I love this picture because these bright colors and the power of food and your food choices are critical to brain health. But there sort of is always the potential of toxins weaving their way in. And how do we deal with them? Which ones do we have to worry about specifically? And how do we manage the potential danger to our brain, to our body, and to our digestive tract, which we know are all very interwoven? How do we manage making sure we keep our brain healthy? So what is detox? Our bodies really are basically bags of chemical reactions whose primary job is to detox. It's one of the primary jobs. Our liver will dig into exactly what that means physically and the pieces of our body, the parts of our body that do detox. But I think in this day and age, our environment, every day in the newspaper, more pollution, more issues with the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and the food that we eat, the pesticides, the chemicals, always very front page and front of mind. And really the goal of this talk is to empower you with, I'll start by reviewing what the real toxins of concern are. We'll touch a little bit on how to test for those. And then the last part will be step by step what to do to help your body detox, which it's already doing naturally. But because of the inundation of toxins, we may need to aid it, step it up. And these will all be strategies that you can incorporate in your day-to-day life. Before we start, I urge you, if you have your phone handy, please don't hesitate to take a picture. If you see a list of something or you see a website listed, Joan will also be sending out at the end of this presentation a list of go-to sites or things that I may have referred to that may be helpful in the presentation, but I certainly don't mind a picture or two. As many of you may be aware of this statistic, Dale Bredesen has done a wonderful job not only researching it, supporting it, but also disseminating it. 20% of dementia cases are toxicity based, and this is I see this in my practice, and the contribution of, I suspect it's more than 50% contribution of toxicity, especially when you consider it as a potential secondary ingredient in, for instance, mold. Perhaps you have the genetics, or perhaps you have the general propensity towards dementia. If you move into a moldy environment, toxicity now becomes part of the ingredients of poor brain health. So a very important topic for the brain, and also one that is so preventable and so easily able, well, not easy in every sense, but you are able to remediate in so many instances, and it can really take the edge off symptoms and sometimes improve them markedly. So these are the primary signs and symptoms of a toxic brain. HPA is basically adrenal, so anxiety can be part of the picture. Hormonal dysregulation, very low or very high testosterone in both men or in women. Thyroid, and autoimmune disease types of things, these can contribute to that. So that's what HPA means. And then the rest are typical things that you see. This is a reason, and I see also a lot of women going into menopause start fearing that they're getting dementia. And interestingly, I see a lot of success in applying detox solutions to women in menopause. The brain is suffering from a huge immediate drop in estrogen, and I see sort of a similar picture. So these solutions actually tend to work with both. When you have brain dysregulation, detox solutions help. I think my prime goal, aside from making you feel empowered, is also to encourage you to make detox part of your daily life forever. People will randomly do cleanses, and that's wonderful, but the real power comes from the 1 or 2 or 3 daily habits that we may start that really have impact. These 2 pictures are 2 foods that I use a lot as just sort of a starter detox support. Lemon water when you wake up in the morning, although it's important to brush your teeth when you finish it because lemon is not great for enamel, but a quick toothbrush takes that problem off the table. Celery juice I love. There's so many minerals in celery juice, helps for a variety of reasons, but both are a great way to start the day. And there'll be other things as well. So just choosing a few of these things to incorporate into your life is really something I'm hoping will resonate with you as I start going through. So going really to the basics, how does your body take out the trash? Sweating and probably saunas, and the research behind saunas is just so voluminous at this point. But I've seen some of the best, most rapid, most effective detox of molds and heavy metals through testing with sweating. And the research supports this as well. Infrared saunas, we'll dive into this a bit later. Obviously bowels as well, elimination, and this includes your liver and your colon, gallbladder, urine. Taking care of your kidneys is critical in the process of detox. And then this one lower right here, it's really supposed to show not only blood, which is right there, but also the lymph system. So the liquid needs to move in your body. And the way you move liquid in your body is to move yourself, and to eat well. But the moving really is important. Sometimes you can have toxins that are sitting in cells and they need to be deposited into the blood. So exercise is critical. Hydration is critical. Good mineralization is critical for that to happen. So we're going to dive into the big 10, the toxins that I see that are of greatest concern. I've chosen some pictures of ones that I feel sometimes fall off the radar or that need to be especially emphasized. That center one, anesthesia increases your risk for dementia. There are protocols, we'll see that in the supplement section at the end, that help mitigate the effect of anesthesia on some brains. There are also genetic tests that you can do to see if you're particularly sensitive to anesthesia and what types. But this is something, going under general anesthesia needs to be a very serious consideration and assessment as you age, and it potentially needs surgery. Radiation also from tests as well affects your ability to detox. Stress, front and center. Can't say enough about the damage of stress if you're not managing your stress. Everybody has ups and downs, but sometimes we get stuck in the up position, and that can really affect how our body is able to function. And a big part of that functioning is excreting toxins. The lower right is a very beautiful swordfish. Swordfish is really loaded with heavy metals and mercury. And it's really alarming to me. I now run mercury in red blood cell as part of my standard blood work wellness panel. I can't tell you how alarmed I am by patients who spend the summer at the beach and have fish 2 or 3 times a week and their mercury just soars. And as somebody who's really studied mercury, I know that really is looking at the tip of the iceberg. It does get better, but how much was stored in the body potentially? So we'll get into fish a little bit more, and I'll show you what you can eat, what I advise, how much, that sort of thing. Sugar and alcohol down here, I don't think that's a surprise. They absolutely are toxic to your body, more for some than others. So let's dive in. Pesticides, the use of glyphosates in many countries on the planet has almost, even when you eat organic, sometimes it's hard to avoid glyphosates. Glyphosate is the primary pesticide in Roundup. The issue with this particular pesticide that's ubiquitous at this point is while it travels through your body and you pee it out or poop it out, it loves minerals, really loves minerals. So not only does it attach to minerals in a growing plant, but it also attaches to minerals in your body. And so when you excrete the glyphosate, you're excreting important minerals. And we're seeing that magnesium, we're beginning to see issues with people having enough magnesium on blood work as well, and lots of studies. I think it's the new vitamin D, sort of the new sexy supplement to take. So you'll probably start seeing that in the news. So these are ways to limit exposure. You are what you eat eats. So if you have a lovely chicken, but it's eaten nothing but pesticide-laden corn, which is common in non-organic chickens, you're probably eating a lot of glyphosate. Glycine powder, it's an amino acid. It's benign in terms of its effect, but it does love glyphosate, and it tends to bind to glyphosate. And the glyphosate then starts dropping the minerals that it will be holding on to, and it's less damaging to the body. Also taking minerals. I'm seeing more and more patients that do need to, I love Trace Minerals as a brand where you put a few drops in water. Depending on your specific blood pressure or heart issues, I do like sea salt, as it tends to be a nice salt mineral package. Mercury and heavy metals, we talked about fish. I have a card that will be listed on Joan's sheet of things to have in terms of the fish that are the least filled with heavy metals, and those are the that are the most filled with heavy metals. And I had mentioned that sweating was probably what I recommended the most. Dental amalgams are a really hot topic. Should they stay or should they go? Really depends on a lot. We do know that hairline fractures that really can't be seen on X-ray are more likely in teeth with amalgam fillings. But it really depends on your general health, whether you should have them out. They need to be taken out in a special way, preferably by a holistic dentist. So, and it also really depends on what your tested mercury levels are. So that's more of a bespoke, but it is a source of concern, or potentially can be. Cleaning supplies. Whether you have control over what's used or not, try and weasel yourself in to have control. EWG is a wonderful website. Again, it will be on Joan's list, where they recommend cleaning products, and they're also reviewed for effectiveness. So you're not going to grab something that smells good, but it doesn't clean, and has all the right ingredients, but doesn't clean. The reviews are pretty right on. Definitely avoid air fresheners and candles. They are filled with a lot of toxins that are not beneficial to your body. We're back to sweating. Interestingly, fiber, particularly ground flax and ground chia, are my favorite fibers. They tend to really hold on to toxins as food makes its way through your bowel, better than most other fibers that absorb toxins. They're pretty stellar. We had talked about stress and how it inflames you. I've really seen, it takes a lot of dedication and time. Sometimes it's hard to even realize that you're in a stressed environment. I talk to a young mother or a caregiver, caregivers particularly. The whole act of caregiving, I sometimes think, is just as difficult as the person who's receiving the care, assuming they're ill. Very important if you're a caregiver or dealing with any kind of chronic stressor, to start putting things in place during the day that help bring you down to a calmer place and help reduce inflammation. And this, again, secondarily helps promote detox. Meditation. With meditation, some people are, oh, it's like chalk on a blackboard. I can't sit still, or I'm just so bored. Keep trying. There are so many different types of meditation choices out there. I struggled for years. I was like, I don't understand how somebody can love that or love this, or Headspace was just the thing, and I just wasn't resonating with me. And I finally found my app. It took me a while. I love Insight Timer. Again, probably not for everyone, but I really like the meditations there. They are like, finally, Epsom salt baths, 4 cups, 20 minutes soak, hottest waters you can handle. This is a magnesium thing, but it's also great for your skin, incredible for your kidneys. And your kidneys, keeping your kidneys in shape is one of the best things you can do for aging. It really is an organ that pretty much directs the orchestra of aging. We don't talk about it much. Liver is the sexier organ, but your kidneys are very important for detox and so many other things, blood pressure. So Epsom salt bath, breath work. There's a wonderful book called Breath. It's come out in the last year, or Breathe, depending on what your intention is with the title. Really fascinating about, and also breathing, and breathing properly helps with detox, especially if you do breath work in a sauna. This slide is really more about fruit than sugar. I think we know that sugar, particularly processed foods with sugar, are very inflammatory. I think there's enough research to support, and we're all in violent agreement. But what's getting denigrated and sort of being, I feel like the baby is being thrown out with the bathwater in the conversation about sugar and fruit. I have found again and again that you just don't hear people who say, oh, I need to cut back on fruit, I'm really gaining weight. Fruit provides such a perfect mineral-dense, fiber-dense package. And these fruits are so detoxifying. Bananas are detoxifying, oranges are detoxifying, berries are detoxifying. They could, I mean, I know that you know, or I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've been reading how good blueberries are, and particularly wild blueberries are for the brain. And that's really because of the fiber, because of the ingredients in the blueberry, but the other fruits, and the papaya, particularly good for detox. So have the smoothie, just don't have the piece of cake. Have the smoothie instead of the piece of cake. It will be better for your body, even if the smoothie has slightly more calories. Dark chocolate is okay. The least sugar possible. I will say that dark chocolate has caffeine, or it can stimulate adrenal function. So if you are on a fast track and under stress, may not be the best snack for you. Grab a date instead, the fruit date, not the person date. Radiation, we talked about this earlier with x-rays. If you're on a long haul day flight from New York to Rome, I don't think they run it during the day, but if you're going the other way to Asia and it's daylight, the distance from New York to Rome, so I guess New York to Hawaii, is equivalent to a chest x-ray. I always recommend taking vitamin C before, during, and after a flight, before, during, and after any kind of testing that includes radiation. Vitamin C, so the issue with radiation is it damages the cells. And these cells need to be, I'm doing this like a Pac-Man. Your immune system needs to go and basically take away the dying cells and do a proper job and not allow these radiated cells to procreate. And the immune system is good at finding this, but vitamin C seems to empower that even more, ramp up the ability. So it's sort of like bringing in the vacuum cleaner. You're prepping the day before with the vitamin C, the day during vitamin C, you're vacuuming, and the day after finishing the job. Can't emphasize enough the power of vitamin C with radiation, because sometimes you have to have a test that includes radiation. Alcohol, I'll talk a little bit about genetics when we get to testing, but some people can handle alcohol better than others. But it's surprising, I run genetic panels for people, and it's surprising how often people really struggle with alcohol, and it really can affect your brain. So less is more when it comes to alcohol of all kinds. Mold is such a huge subject. People have spent whole careers on mold. It's also such a racket. I'm sorry to say it, but I think there are a lot of people making money off people having fear of mold. I really like Yes, We Inspect. It seems that the founder lectures as part of the Apollo Health series and training, and he's terrific. He's experienced some mold illness himself, and has created a company that really does go after the root cause, which is very naturopathic. So I appreciate that. But they are trustworthy. And then there are ways to detox from mold, mostly supplements, and we're back to saunas. Saunas, again, one of the most powerful ways to detox if you've had mold exposure. So I should talk about, well, I think we'll get into that towards the end, about the specifics of how often you should sauna and what kinds and how long. So we'll to be continued on that. Caffeine. This again is such a divisive subject. There are articles on how terrific caffeine is for you. There are articles on how much it can hurt you. It so depends on the individual. If it keeps you awake, it's really not for you. If it bothers your stomach, it's not for you. Anything that drives any kind of adrenaline rush, and it's good because it can wake up your brain. You can have get a lot done. But the price sometimes causes inflammation. And again, this can interfere with detox. On the other hand, coffee enemas are a big thing. Coffee is used to detox. So it's important that it have its place and is used properly. So you don't want to be over caffeinated. So it's not a complete no, it's just a maybe, and depending on you. General anesthesia I spoke about earlier. I like glutathione a lot post-surgery. I use pretty high doses. Glutathione is often, again, in genetic testing, some people are completely missing the ability to make this enzyme in the body, but it is a key player in the liver's ability to get rid of a toxin. So I find that a lot of people benefit from this, and we're getting back to sweating again, and of course, hydration. And there are protocols you can do pre-surgery and post-surgery that include more supplements that can help with this as well. So let's talk a little bit about testing. I'm actually going to start at the bottom of this list. Intellex DNA is a company developed by a woman who worked with Dale Bredesen for quite a few decades. I love this test as a naturopath. It allows me to see what genes you have that may impair healthy aging. There are 3 brain sections, 25 sections in all, and I think there are 4 toxicity sections. And so combining the brain and toxicity section is always great. Other sections include heart, bones, how you absorb vitamins, thyroid, and on and on. But the way that she has developed this report is she's taken all the research that she can find on the genes that she tests, and she finds what supplements, what lifestyle, and what pharmaceuticals, if needed, interventions can help that gene not to express. So while you may have a gene, it may never express. And if you have a gene that you definitely don't want to express, the report has foods to eat, supplements to take, and in what quantity, etc. And especially for the toxicity panel, I found it very useful to help guide me towards what a patient needs. For instance, some patients really struggle with heavy metals. So I might, after that, do the heavy metal and mercury test that's listed at the top. Christopher Shade, who is the founder of Quicksilver Scientific, is completely obsessed in a really good way with mercury and heavy metal toxicity. So these 3 tests that I list in the beginning, for molds, the airborne toxins, and the mercury, you really need to take great care with interpreting these tests. The issue is that all 3 of those toxins can stay in the cell. You can have a completely clean test result, but if your exposure is high, you may need to have a test where you take a supplement beforehand that may encourage your body to dump the heavy metal or the mold. And then the provider needs to understand how to interpret the information. So a clean test, or really, if you have a very dirty test that's filled with very high numbers, you may be a terrific detoxifier. It may mean that mercury from the fish goes straight out of your body. And I have seen patients like that. So proceed with caution with testing and understand that the results may not always be alarming if they're high. It just may mean that your body is doing a terrific job. So let's dive into how to detox. Again, this is not 10, but 9 tools for detox. And I've listed some of my favorite here. Of course, there's a picture of a sauna. Sleep, unbelievably effective. And so it's important to get good sleep. The top center is the molecule air filter, which I really like. No affiliation with that company. Molecule spelled with a K. I think their air purifiers are very effective. Water and hydration is very important, and we'll talk about quality water and how to source. And then the lower left one is it's actually a picture of the lymph system. So this is a fluid that flows through your body and that works very hard to detoxify. So we'll talk about how to promote that. So I feel like a broken record here, but I don't really think it's possible to talk too much about saunas. They're so incredibly healing. It really is the best way to detox. I like infrared saunas the best. They tend to build heat the fastest. You sweat sooner. And higher dose and Heavenly Heat are the brands that don't include. Heavenly Heat makes the sauna box where you sort of go into a small room that's made of wood, but they're both very careful to not include fabrics or glues that can off gas and create toxicity. Higher dose, interestingly, makes a sauna encasement, so it's soft like a blanket. You wrap yourself in it and zip yourself up. It has a washable liner inside of it, and it's infrared, and you lie in it and sweat. It's important when you're done with your sauna to wash off. Castile soap is the best because you have all of these toxins sitting on top of your skin and they can be reabsorbed. So shower immediately and Castile soap. So in terms of how often, again, it really depends on the person. You know, how is their blood pressure? How are their minerals? How do they feel when they're in the heat? But if you can stand the heat, a good 20 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week, every day if you can, is really beneficial. If you can do more than 20 minutes, terrific. Bringing a good book in, anything to help you pass the time and feel like it's useful time is great. These are some of my favorite detox power foods. Broccoli sprouts filled with sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is not only great for detox, it's great for bones, so many other important processes in your body. Put them on everything, put them on soup, put them on dinner, whatever you're having for dinner. Put them on top of another vegetable. Broccoli sprouts every day. Again, the literature is just profound on the effect of broccoli sprouts. The rest of these, especially the top 4, I really like. They're part of the detox smoothies that I often recommend. Dulse is a type of seaweed that really loves to bind to heavy metals. At this point, I'm only recommending Atlantic Ocean-based seaweed. There's so much conjecture about the effect of Fukushima on plant life in the Pacific Ocean. So I pretty much stick to the Atlantic at this point, but Dulse is not only detoxifying, but it doesn't hold on to toxins in the ocean, but it seems to hold on to them in the human body. Maybe that's a post-death, and they start absorbing the heavy metals. Spirulina is a blue-green algae, and it's just also terrific. It's pictured in the center there. Cilantro, definitely not everyone's cup of tea. Cilantro, to those who feel it tastes like dish soap, you don't have to listen to this part, but a whole head a day in a smoothie, it's incredibly beneficial for liver and kidney health. Decaf green tea, also wonderful. All of the there's something called EGCG in green tea that also promotes and contributes to the detox pathways. I'm a big believer in herbal tea all day. The power of herbal tea cannot be underestimated. These are my 5 favorites. All of these can be easily found on Amazon in organic form. Whenever I'm on an airplane, I haven't had an issue with boiled airplane water. I know that's a thing, but I haven't experienced it, and I travel a lot. I often have parsley and nettle combined, and I just keep it going. It hydrates me during the flight. I find water out of a plastic bottle not so great for you, and believe it or not, it ends up demineralizing you because you're peeing a lot, but you're peeing out minerals. But unless it's mineral water you're drinking, you're not really, it's not a true hydrating thing to drink. Just water. You need to add some minerals like some sea salt, something like that. But all of these are, dandelion leaf is just terrific for all things kidney. Dandelion root is just loves the liver. So mixing and matching, just having it handy, warming it up in the afternoon, evening, herbal teas. And all of these specifically support detox organs in the body. And it's easy, just have it every day, or especially in the fall, winter, spring. In the summer, you can ice it, but that's an extra step. And also the summer is a time when the body usually has more sweating, more detoxing, but the winter you really need the additional liquid. And all of those organic teas have really great minerals in them. The nettle leaf is just loaded with minerals. I'd mentioned fiber before. Important that the flax and the chia here are ground. We can't break down flax seeds, whole flax seeds in our bodies, so it needs to be ground. Really important to keep these in a refrigerator or freezer. The minute you open them, rancid like that. So keep them in the refrigerator. I often prescribe a seed cereal where it's 4 tablespoons of ground flax, a tablespoon of the ground chia, and then either hemp or macadamia nut milk. I like those nut milks because of the fat ratios. They're organic. All of this is organic. And then wild blueberries. So why would I suggest this to somebody? It's good to get your bowels moving. I'm a big believer in 1 bowel movement a day at least. That's actually one of the most important things you can do for detox, is to have a daily, large, well-formed stool. Simple but true. And the seed cereal tends to really help people do that. The other thing too, as I'd mentioned before, flax has a passion for minerals, for toxins. As stool moves through the bowel, towards the end, when you go through the ascending, transverse, and descending colon, water starts getting reabsorbed back into the body, especially if the body feels that you're going to take a while to get rid of the stool. When water is reabsorbed back into the body from the stool, it often contains toxins, but it won't contain anything that flax has grabbed onto, because flax won't let it go. So it's one of the best fibers for holding tight to toxicity and not letting it be reabsorbed. Lots of conversation about fasting and detox. The reason why fasting is such a sexy, fun thing is because when you're fasting, your liver can actually settle down to do its job, which is to detox, versus pumping out bile for you to digest food and handling all of the sugar regulation that needs to go on in that process. So I'm a big believer in fasting for some. It's absolutely not for everyone, but it really is a terrific way to support your body to do what it does, which is detox. Walter Longo out of USC is the researcher who has done the most on this subject. I recommend any of his books, or any of his YouTube presentations are great. He found that 14 hours really was ideal, 16 a little too much, 12 not quite enough. Even once a week to do this. Of course, it would be great to do it every day, but really good for your body to do it as often as you can. Again, not for everybody. There are some exceptions to this. And then 3 hours before sleep, if you could stop eating. And by that, herbal tea is fine, but I would try and let your digestive system have a rest. It's also really wonderful if you have any GERD or any digestive issues, to allow your body to finish the process of digestion sitting up versus lying down. Well, you hear this all the time, but I still don't see enough of it in my patient population to feel that people are putting, the rubber to the road, literally. So you really need to sweat. You really need to get out there and do it. I think the thing that I see the most often is people start too fast. About 9 or 10 years ago, I realized that I needed to exercise and sweat more. And I actually tricked myself, and I've used this a lot for my patients with success, sort of tricked myself. I told myself that I could only exercise twice a week and only for 20 minutes. And on an elliptical, I think I was doing a bike, any kind of form of equipment. I don't think I was running outside. It must have been in the winter when I started this. But I only did 20 minutes twice a week, because I chose 20 minutes because I really couldn't think of an excuse not to give 20 minutes, maybe it was 20 or 30 minutes to something. I should be able to organize my life to do that, and just twice a week. And I really noticed I felt better, and I actually just started getting a little more fit. So I added 10 minutes and made it 30 minutes. And then 6 months later, I added a third day. And it just grew into a regular practice. But I think for me, building up slowly, and again, I see this in my patients, was really the key for me. So I often tell people, just start walking, start counting your steps, and then maybe maybe run a little bit. Or if you don't feel like running, get on a bike or get on an elliptical. It's easier for your knees. Or find some sort of equipment, a rower that you have access to that works. So anyway, exercise is key. Sleep. So again, I have seen so much illness turn the corner by addressing someone's sleep. This sleep mask here in the center picture is one of my favorites. It's bluebox.com. That will be in Joan's list, probably. I think it will be, knowing Joan, she's on it. If there are two circles you can't see underneath that mask, and they actually Velcro into the smooth silk thing you see at the top, and you can move them around to fit on your eyes if you're lopsided or in any way it accommodates that. And it's very soft. There's no light. It's by far the most comfortable. Lots of research went into this, a very comfortable mask. Sleep apnea is a huge deterrent to good detox, huge. You need to breathe to detox, bottom line. And sleep apnea addresses that. So make sure you get a test if you feel you may have it. Obviously, room temperature is important. I like melatonin, again, not for everybody. I don't recommend it nightly, but I do recommend it occasionally. And I love, these are other herbs that I like as well for sleep, to support sleep. Why do I not recommend melatonin nightly? I do find that the body can build up a bit of a tolerance. I find that if I use it a few days a week and then intersperse the rest of the week with other things, and maybe calm the nervous system down during the day, that it helps the body sleep better, to have a variety of support. And I love herbal tea, but it really depends. If you're up all night peeing after you've had herbal tea, that sort of defeats the purpose. So be aware that that's a thing and plan accordingly. So much on water. The articles that are coming out right now about tap water, I just find really concerning. I think it's the chlorine in tap water that's really setting everybody off. And I think also maybe the chemicals that are used to make the water potable, it's almost like piling on all of the other things that we're being exposed to right now. And it's just starting to feel like too much. So I really like, you'll see on the lower right, this is an under the sink water filter system that's gotten great reviews. Aquasana is its name. And that what you see in the front is the spigot that it goes into, and that's the source of water for the whole house. That can just be the drinking water. Glass bottles are listed right there. Even stainless steel, I'm not a fan of. Yes, glass bottles break. Yes, it is a problem, but still the benefits outweigh the negatives big time. Make sure that, and for delivery also, I like Mountain Valley. I know they deliver in the Northeast, and they have a really good quality water. They've been tested. They have good reviews. So something to consider. Mountain Valley will try to deliver in a BPA-free plastic canister. Say no, I want the bottles. So if you have the budget to do that, can't say more good things about Mountain Valley. I guess we can get more granular about the issues with tap afterwards. I'm happy to dive more into that. But you can go to different websites that grade water quality and out of tap. The real issue I often find is people with wells and the pesticides that make their way into the well water, especially in Connecticut. If you have a well, sometimes that there are good testing services, but I'm wondering if they really are keeping up with all the toxins that are out there. And yes, seeping through the groundwater, hopefully it's minimized by the time it reaches your well. I'm not sure that is the case for every house. So we're back to the filtration system under the sink. So the lymph system, lymph massage is becoming more easy to access than it used to be, but there are lots of at-home solutions to just getting lymph moving. There's a wonderful book, Joan, I'll give you the name. I don't have it listed here, called The Book of Lymph, which has half the book is just explaining the power of lymph, but the other half is actual processes. I recommend for women with lymphedema, wonderful, wonderful procedures that she walks you through on how to move your hands to move lymph. And I really have noticed a difference in patients that have done this. You'll see a trampoline there in the center. Jumping on a trampoline, while dangerous with the bar there, it makes it a little safer. Jumping on a trampoline is one of the best things you can do for lymph. If you ever have an opportunity to take a class that uses that, or you buy one and put it in your home, just 5 minutes of jumping up and down. Pretty incredible research. I kid you not, somebody funded the research and the findings were astounding. It really helps move lymph and it helps with detox. Skin brushing is what's on the upper left, light, always towards the heart is the way to go with that. And that's something that you can do before a shower, before bed.
Quick interruption. We're
Yeah.
coming up on 12:50.
Okay, I think we're close to the end. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
And
Um,
we can run a little bit over if necessary.
Okay, all right. Happy to do that. So air quality, we talked a bit about the 2 filters that I like, which are listed here. Make sure to open up your windows all year long. Open up your windows. Yes, there's air pollution, but still there's a lot of off-gassing in homes from rugs, from furniture, from mattresses, and it really never stops. And having fresh air circulate through or outside air come in, close up the windows, turn on the air filter, and you'll have new air to circulate through the house and more beneficial. So airing out the house is an important old age way to stay healthy that should continue. I think this is the last slide, actually. So these are my favorite detox supplements. Most of them are included in the Intellex DNA, so I know that there's research being done on these specifically for detox of different organs in the body against different toxins. Glutathione I had talked about already as one of the most important enzymes in the liver to support detox. NAC is a part of the glutathione pathway. Pectazole is modified citrus pectin. It loves lead and heavy metals. Curcumin. Interesting thing about curcumin, cooking with it is really important. It's great. It's hard for the body to absorb. And a lot of supplement companies don't have the most absorbable brands. I like Integrative Therapeutics. They have Curcumax. I see the best results of this in patients. Curcumax comes with all sorts of good side effects like relaxing, believe it or not. But it also really supports, the curcuminoids really support the liver, the kidney, the gallbladder, and the brain. Great studies on curcumin in the brain, but I think you guys probably already know that. Glycine powder we'd mentioned because it grabs onto glyphosates. It's also calming, a nice side effect. Vitamin C I had mentioned before. Milk thistle is just a well-loved herb by the liver. It promotes I don't recommend taking milk thistle all the time, but if you have had some toxic exposure, a 3-month round of milk thistle is a nice and supportive idea. And the activated charcoal and bentonite clay, I have a lot of people who take these before going into a sauna. Neil Nathan, who's the leading guru on mold and detox of mold, says that these are very important, and I agree with him. They're called binders. They go through the gut and they bind toxins, very much like the flax that I was talking to you about, but even in a more effective way. So I think, yes, we are at the end. And thank you very much for your time.
Okay, well, we've got quite a few questions. If you want to stop sharing, then I'll unspotlight you. That way, if someone wants to ask a question, they can be on screen. There we go. There were a lot of questions about food, about saunas, about different things. So one of the last questions was, would jump roping be a good way for, instead of a rebounder, to remove the lymph?
I think it has to do with the softness of the landing that moves the lymph, but jump roping is fantastic for your bones and for anyone who has osteopenia or osteoporosis. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to throw that one out completely. Jumping in general is really great for you, but you need the softness of the landing. Mm-hmm. There's something about the feet and the lymph, and there is a gentle component that's needed for lymph to be properly moved. Mm-hmm. But jump roping is a good start. Anyone who wants to jump rope.
A couple of questions about saunas and Epsom salt baths. How frequent should someone do a Epsom salt bath? similar to a
I
salt?
have patients who do them nightly. And with the 4 or 5 cups, we're so magnesium depleted. I think that's a daily, no problem. I have never seen a negative response to daily Epsom salt baths. Never. I haven't even seen high magnesium numbers on blood work, which at this point would probably be welcome since it's so hard to get that.
Yeah.
In saunas, it really, to sweat, it's really important to mineralize yourself. And if you're not doing that, that's when you run into problems with too much of both Epsom salt baths, because Epsom salt baths provide minerals. So let's just stick with saunas. Getting minerals in your body is important. And if you have to understand that when you're hydrating, when you're drinking a glass of water, say you grab your glass of filtered tap water and you're drinking it, there are no minerals or very few in that water. But when you pee, you're losing a lot of minerals. So people think they're hydrating, and that's great, but you're actually demineralizing. So I have a lot of issues with people, particularly in the summer, that start getting leg cramps. They're runners, and it's because they're hydrating a lot, but they need to mineralize a lot. So trace mineral drops, I really like for that. Really good sea salt is also good for that. So, and there are supplements that you can take that are just minerals. So assuming that you're well mineralized, daily sauna.
And what about fluoride in water? Is that
so controversial? Really depends. If you have Hashimoto's or a thyroid issue, we do know that fluoride competes with the iodine receptor in the thyroid. So I usually steer people away from the fluoridated water. Are you asking the question saying if I filter it, I'll filter out the fluoride, and is that a bad thing?
I'm not sure.
Or are you asking it from the perspective of, I don't want fluoride? Well, let me address both. So your dentist would probably be the best for this. I know that children get fluoride treatments on their teeth very often. It really depends on your teeth.
Okay. Couple of food questions. Is it okay to eat non-organic wild blueberries?
The blueberry skin is so porous. I would strongly recommend sprinkling it with glycine powder. It's like sugar and tastes sweet without the calories, but that's probably one of the top 5 in the Dirty Dozen, unfortunately. The best way to get organic wild blueberries I found is Whole Foods. They sell whole big bulk bags of wild blueberries that are organic, pretty reasonably priced. Every place else is outrageously expensive, especially off season.
Yep. Someone asked about broccoli sprouts being readily available. And Myra Oney, one of our health coaches, replied that they can be expensive, but are easy to grow at home.
Yes, yay, Myra, my kind of person. Very easy to grow at home, especially and the hydroponic thing is really taking off. So many patients who've discovered hydroponics, but yes, broccoli sprouts, grow them at home.
I did Google, and they're at my local ShopRite and Whole Foods, but sprouts are easy to grow.
Yeah, and literally grab like a handful and put it literally on everything. You get used to it. You miss it if it's not there.
Yep. Someone asked, how do we reduce inflammation in the brain?
Curcumin would probably be my number 1. Stress reduction would probably be my number 2. Sleep quality would be number 3. I probably would want to run a genetic test to see how sensitive you are to alcohol and toxicity, to see if directly addressing that would help. I do like glutathione as well. Fish oil, there's so many issues with fish. There's a new-ish product called SPM Active. It's an isolate of fish oil. Metagenics makes one. The anti-inflammatory effects are huge. An important thing to remember with both curcumin, to a lesser degree, but for fish oil for sure, is it's a blood thinner. So be cautious. But those two are the supplements that seem to bring down inflammation the fastest.
Okay, and removing mercury from the brain.
I think even Christopher Shade shies away from any test that can confirm that you have it.
Mhm.
That would be more, are you asking how to remove mercury from the brain?
Yes, how do
Yeah.
we remove mercury from the brain?
I defer to Quicksilver Scientific. They have a fantastic detox protocol called the Cube. And it's wonderful. And it includes everything you need to detox mercury out of your body. Because if you want to get it out of your brain, you need to get it out of your body as well.
Mhm.
So Quicksilver Scientific, as I mentioned, Christopher Shade, he's obsessed with getting mercury out of people's bodies in just such a lovable way. Brilliant man. And they've really come up with some great products. And it's been a good 10, maybe more years that they've developed and applied and sold these products. So they've really refined them. These detoxes, the Cube is phenomenal and it's executable.
So it's CUBE. The
Yeah,
Cube.
okay. Can I send that to you later?
Yes,
I'll send you
please.
the website.
Perfect.
Oh,
Okay,
it's
we're
okay. Actually, I think it's QU. No, I think it's QUBE. Actually, I'll find out.
Okay. There was questions about the testing, heavy metal testing, et cetera. And one person asked about whether or not those are covered by insurance. I'm sure that depends on your insurance company.
Rarely.
Yeah, rarely. Yeah.
It may be applied to your deductible, but very, very rarely. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I do find that a lot of what I just, sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
A lot of what I just recommended, if you do that, a lot of that is in the protocol for detox anyway.
Mhm.
So I recommend daily detox. Just assume, I just assume yes.
Mhm.
Assume positive. I mean, obviously, if you're really ill because of an exposure to something, then you really need a professional to
Mhm.
detox you, who can test you and use that test as a proper milestone.
And this might, I don't know if I caught all the questions, but this is maybe one of the last. Can some of these detoxes be done after the fact and still be just as effective, such as the vitamin C for radiation? Or does it need to be immediate?
It does. Yeah,
Mhm.
it does.
And about how much
I
vitamin C?
recommend, well, it really depends on the bowel and gut health of the person. Vitamin C can give you diarrhea. Vitamin C can make your tummy feel very acidic.
Mhm.
That has to be assessed. The 2000 twice a day, the day before, 2000 3 times a day, the day of, and twice a day, the day after.
Okay. All right.
Loose stools are fine. It'll pass.
Mhm.
Loose stools means you reach bowel tolerance, which is good.
Mhm. Okay. Well, oh, there are some new messages at the bottom. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you so much. Great information.
Well, thank you.
One person does mention curcumin,
Curcuminoids?
yeah, depletes iron. So if hypothyroid, is that difficult?
I have not seen that clinically. I have read that study and I do not see it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. And
Eat more spinach with your curcumin. Have more.
there you go.
Spinach.
And one of our attendees is a hygienist. It's best to brush your teeth before having lemon water in the morning. Brushing after may cause sensitivity to air and or temperature or toothbrush abrasion.
Okay, so, but I feel that leaving the lemon on afterwards, what is she? Can we be interactive on this? Is she still on?
I'm hoping. Cindy, are you still here? She is. Would you like to unmute? Hello?
Here I am. So yes, I'm a hygienist, long-term hygienist. It's best to rinse with water to neutralize the environment. Having lemon
Afterwards.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Okay, great. I will change. That makes sense to me, actually, but I understand. So the lemon in itself can increase the propensity for sensitivity if you use a toothbrush afterwards.
Yeah, so by reducing, by having lemon water, right? Ideally, it's best to rinse before, excuse me, I'm sorry, to brush before, so you loosen everything up in between and around your teeth. If you want to have lemon water and then rinse with water afterwards. But the lemon water is healthy for you. It's not going to cause so much acidity, and unless it's a high percentage of lemon ratio, then that would create acidity. But if you brush afterwards, that toothbrush abrasion will create the sensitivity for you, or it could cause erosion, especially if you brush with an electric toothbrush or if you brush heavily. So ideally, best to neutralize the environment after you have the lemon water, have a more percentage of lemons, and that will help you.
So the lemon water that I recommend that works best for detox is a pretty high intensity lemon water. It's like 2 squeezed lemons and a couple of cups of water. It's pretty potent.
Okay, so then afterwards,
Maybe baking soda with water afterwards?
no. So ideally, it's best to increase the neutrality of the oral microbiome. So
Okay, more water.
the 2 lemons, it's best to neutralize that environment. So you have the potency of the lemons, and it's at a higher acidity. So you want to neutralize it and bring it down more. So you want something basic to rinse with. So rinsing with water at a higher level of basic percentage, right? Like an essential water, right? That has more of a basic environment that will neutralize that environment. So you have more lemon, right? You have that effect, but at the same time, within a 20-minute period, you're able to reduce it and help you.
Got it. So, but wouldn't a pinch of baking soda also help since it's basic?
It may help, right? But there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I know. I know, but saving teeth is important. Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will make the adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank
It
you,
was-
everyone, for attending.
Okay, and as I said, once the recording is ready and I get my recap email set, I'll get that out later today, latest by tomorrow morning. And
Yeah.
thank you again. It was an absolute pleasure.
Oh, I'm glad. I enjoyed it as well. Take care, everyone. Happy detox.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.